Good morning, everybody. We are live here on Facebook. I am Crystal Kaufman, and I'm here with Nancy Griffin, the founder of Woman Worth and Wellness. What a powerful company this is. Nancy, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and Woman Worth and Wellness? It is just, I'm so inspired since I've found you guys, and I'd love to know a little bit more.
Crystal's the best. Crystal lives in Edmonton, so I love the virtual world. The virtual world is just presenting so many opportunities. It's unbelievable. And of course, it's a great way to ward off Alzheimer's as you're learning new things and exercising your brain in ways you've never, ever anticipated. It's really interesting because today is the 30th anniversary of my mother's funeral. And I think for most of the people who are listening, they will realize that their mothers have always said, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
Mhm.
So when I was a wealth advisor, which I was for over 20 years, my clients would get all caught up in this, that, and should we own this? And what about that? And what about the return and whatever? And you very quickly realize that you need to be focusing on your health as well as your wealth. And that's how I came up with the logo, which I did, which is when you get that whole wealth plan in place and you're healthy, you don't get insurance unless you're healthy. If you want to check to see how healthy you are, go try to get some insurance. And if you get what you want and you get a whole bunch of it, you're really, really healthy. And when you get your whole wealth plan together, that's when you'll walk out in the middle of traffic and say, hit me. I don't care because I've got my whole plan in order. But that
Mhm.
was all with client, make sure the thing was in anticipating all sorts of different scenarios. And more often than not, it was a health related incident that would create their wealth plan being unstable.
Mhm. So, Nancy, I understand that we have an event coming up here in a couple weeks, and I'd love to know a little bit more about it. So tell us what it is.
All right. I now live in Southern Georgian Bay. I've moved out of the city probably about, when was that? 2012.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 8 years ago. First city of Kawartha Lakes, then Southern Georgian Bay. But I was still very connected to Toronto, especially Women's College Hospital. When I started into my practice, my first connection with women's was in 1994. I also started their first golf tournament in 1997. We had 144 golfers.
Wow.
In order to get to that full complement is a big, big, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So women's is always an organization that I've supported over the years because they're leading edge, not just in Ontario and Canada, but in the world.
Yeah.
And they champion women's health and well-being. Now they are a virtual facility. I'm part of their Spirit of Life Society, and this is the cube that they gave to me. It's a rather heavy little paperweight, but this is what their new facility looks like. And it's basically in the center of the city at Bain College. For people who are in Toronto, they'll be familiar with it. But I've continued to be a huge champion for women's. And this event has many leading ladies, fearless leaders, talking about what is going on at women's with regards to telemedicine, but also as it pertains to, with COVID being such a threat, lots of us have access to good health care, but lots of people do not. And as we know, the virus is shameless. It will pick on any moving body. So Women's is doing research that pertains to those who are underserved in our communities to make sure that they have access to healthcare as well. The other area that they're now partnering with is long-term care. So you can see very, very simply that Women's really is passionate about women's health and well-being.
Yes. And so there's
Separately,
a speaker at this event.
pardon?
And there's a speaker at this event.
Yes, many speakers. We've got Jennifer Barnard, who is head of the foundation at Women's, and she is again a fearless leader. She's just lovely. So when you participate in this event, you'll hear all that she has to say, and you will be most inspired and most impressed. We then have Laura, who's talking about how they've gone virtual They were already in the midst of doing that, but of course with COVID, they pivoted and it just ramped it all up. So she'll talk a little bit more about what's going on, and certainly a rapid and sustained response to assist our province's long-term care facilities. And again, as women, you know, the good news and the bad news is we're going to live to be 100 plus. So when we actually, I've heard a funny thing the other day, they said, live your life every day exactly the way you want it to be, so that when you get to a nursing home or a long-term care facility, you've got the best stories to share with everybody. So there's a new opportunity. And then we have Dara Gordon, who's a researcher and next generation trailblazer, who's going to be talking about systemic barriers, that what I just mentioned about including social determinants of health, especially for those with complex health and social needs, and integrating all of this in such a way that it integrates with policy that's being created for health and well-being for everyone.
Wow, this is really critical at this time, especially like you said with COVID, that everybody has equal opportunity and access to health no matter what. So they're pivoting online?
They are.
Wow.
They are incredible. So when you participate, you will realize the research that is going on. And again, as I mentioned, not just for Ontario, not just for Toronto, not just for Canada, but globally. This is a facility that is leading globally in terms of research and wellness in particular for women.
Very fascinating. So we're talking about the Woman Worth and Wellness event. It's called Women's Fearless Leadership Matters. And I have a link in the comments there for you. It's bit.ly, so bit.ly/Woman's Fearless Leader. And check it out. Check out the event. We're going to talk more about it here with Nancy, but I just wanted to let you know what we're talking about. It's the Woman Fearless Leadership Matters. It happens October 28th, virtually online, so you can be COVID safe in your home and join us. I understand you're in Ontario. I'm in Edmonton, Alberta. This is both from Canada. If you're tuning in from not in Canada, I don't know where these wonderful cities are. So how is COVID there going in Ontario right now? It seems like a pivotal time again to be able to access online. I hear cases are up.
It's scary times. It's scary times. And, you know, they refer to COVID numbness. We all respected lockdown when this first happened. And the irony is, my last big Women Worth and Wellness event was on March the 11th. We had over 100 women in a physical location in Clarksburg, which is south of Thornbury. And the theme was Perfect Vision for the Road Ahead 2020. Well, little did we know until we got home that night. We didn't have a clue what perfect vision was, because that was the first day when everything was shut down. So we all were in shock. I think the one thing we all know now is that life can pivot on a dime, and it can be completely different than what you can ever expect before. And so this numbness with COVID, because we had summer, beautiful summer, great barbecues, social distancing outside, but now we're all coming back in and the numbers are ramping up. And nobody wants to go under lockdown again, but we've got 6 months to go before it's spring again.
Mm-hmm. How true. So this information feels really pivotal when health is such a key, especially for boomer women like yourself, like my mom. So I care about this too, because I have mothers and I have a mother and grandmother who I care very much about, and I care very much about their health and that they have equal opportunity to receive that. So you talked a lot about the hospital. What other speakers are going to be at this event as well?
Well, we have Jessica White, who's in Collingwood, and she's a sleep expert. Ooh. And so again, I'm sure anybody who's listening probably has some sleepless nights thinking about whatever. You know, Jessica herself is a mom of 3, and she has been doing homeschooling as well as running her business. And so, you know, it's triple duty for every woman these days. And we all know how women have been outplaced through this whole scenario, and how women are crucial for the successful economy in Canada. So Jessica is going to give us some tips. She's going to talk to us, and hopefully what she shares with us is going to be really helpful to you, because if each of us doesn't have a good night's sleep, how can we possibly be our best the next day?
For sure. It plays such a pivotal role in our health, which then rolls out into everything, right? I mean, if we're not our best self and we're not there for our kids, for our family, ourselves, we can get sick just based on that. I know even last week I was feeling run down. I went and had a COVID test, and it was just from lack of sleep, honestly. It was negative, but it's from lack of sleep. So sleep is so critical. It is something that we take, most people I think take for granted. And with extra stress and extra worry, people are sleeping less, I find.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to Jessica.
Yes, she'll
Okay.
be terrific.
Yeah. And who else we have?
Well, the one thing that I want to mention is I do probably about 2 events a year, 2 or 3 uh, events of significance. And again, they were in person up until this first one that we did virtually. Well, actually, we did a small one in the spring after that awful tragedy in Nova Scotia. And the theme was women leading with empathy, because there, but by the grace of God, something like that could have happened in our community. So we did that one. But then this is a much bigger event virtually. And when I knew I wanted to do a fall event, I approached Janice McDonald, who lives in Ottawa, who had written a book. And this is the book, Fearless, Girls with Dreams and Women with Vision. And if you haven't got a copy, I would suggest that you order one. It's really incredible because it not only focuses on boomer women and who they are and what their successful careers are, but it's also terrific for young women taking a look at what careers are potentially ahead. And so the whole fearless theme over the year, as the year has unfolded, has become even more poignant. And again, it's like Black Lives Matter, women's leadership matters, everybody's life and leadership matters. But women often sometimes are not courageous, and they have opportunities in their midst that they're hanging back from. So I think with the passing of the notorious RBG, whose life we admire so much, it's given us all inspiration to be fearless in our own little worlds. And fearlessness comes from increasing your awareness about your health. And the second part is going to talk about increasing your awareness about your wealth and how you can steward some of your wealth philanthropically to organizations you love. You know, it could be the Humane Society, it could be Heart and Stroke, it could be, you decide what's important to you. And as a financial advisor, I know that when you donate, especially with legacy planning, it makes a huge impact to your bottom line. So there's something in it for you from your wealth plan to be a huge donor. But it also makes a statement to your family and friends as to who you truly are, as to being generous and being supportive of those organizations that add such vibrance to us as individuals.
Absolutely. And I think even our if wealth issues, if they aren't under control, can cause health issues. Would you agree?
Very good. Very good point. Very good point.
Can cause sleepless nights and all kinds of other issues. And how good would it feel to go to bed at night knowing you're taken care of, your family's taken care of, your legacy is in place, so you don't have to worry. So beautiful. You'll be talking about that at the event as well?
Yes, definitely.
Great. So who is the event mostly geared to?
Boomer women. I started the program, 26 years ago now. And so I'm no longer that 40 something. So it's definitely daughters and granddaughters. And I think, you know, if I won the lottery, what I would do is commission a book to be published on how your body works, so that young people understand how your body does work and what is so, so, so important. So it's granddaughters as well, you know, a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, you know, what about your heart? What about your lungs? You know, what do you do in order to stay healthy and safe? Because if we are healthy, then we can be the best we can possibly be.
That makes much sense.
Long time ago, actually, I did this in honor of my mother's, when she would have been 100. And of course, I had a whole year. I could do it at the beginning of the year, the end of the year. Well, I did it right at the end of the year, which was in November. And the theme of that event, which was at Verity in Club in Toronto for women, was mind, body, and spirit. So in other words, your mind chooses it, but your body has to be strong to do it.
Mhm.
And if you get your mind and body working, then you get to the next level. And the next level is who are you? What is the essence of you? What do you want to be? What do you want to give? All those sorts of things. And it was an amazing event. We did it on a Sunday. And the one of the speakers in the morning was from Lever Brothers, who did the Dove program. You
Okay.
know, Real Women, Real Bodies. I don't know
Yeah.
if you remember that.
Love it. Mhm.
Talked about the whole thing, and some of the women that were in it were guests. And then Elaine Dembe, she's always a favorite. She's like a 5,000 watt bulb. We finished the event with Margaret Trudeau as the guest speaker, because when you think about what she's been through, mind, body, and spirit, and she is so funny. She said at one point she'd been invited to be a guest speaker at the press club in Ottawa. And one of the comments that was made was, so in other words, you were nuts. So we made fun of her mental illness when in fact, we know that mental illness these days is a bigger challenge than ever.
It's so true.
So increasing your awareness of who's doing what and what's going on, and some tips so that we can survive and be well, is really, really important.
I think that's key. I mean, I'm 41 and I should take more care and concern. I mean, I'm not getting any younger. And so not only does this affect and have an interest in my legacy and in my generation, so it also affects my mother, my grandmother, and knowing how to best support them. And for me, as I get older, and what should I, the famous saying, if I only knew then what I know now. And this is an opportunity to know now what you guys know, and to pass it on with the best intentions down to the next generation. So I think this is critical and key, not only for boomer women, just like you said, for their daughters and granddaughters.
Well, good for you, Crystal, to have that awareness, because then what it does is it helps you have dialogue
Mhm.
with your mom and your grandmother
Mhm.
and your daughters or young people. Just having those conversations makes a huge, huge difference.
Which lends the hand to the whole theme. Women's leadership matters. So we can lead no matter what age, what demographic. It's all within us, and it's also critical. Great. So when is the event, Nancy?
It is Wednesday, October the 28th, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. We'll
Eastern.
have a break in between. I think the break is around 2:30 or so before we hear the people from Meaford.
Mhm.
And we have three sponsors. We have Julia White from the Cooperators in Meaford, and she's a great person. You're going to enjoy hearing what she has to say about a whole wealth plan and how it's connected to obviously your health plan. But during the break, we'll hear from Casey Thompson, who owns the Cheese Gallery in Thornbury. And she's a great lady. She's done a huge pivot. As soon as this happened, it was like, oh my goodness. Anyway, she didn't waste any time thinking about what she was going to do to make sure she was still in business, make sure that her customers were safe, and to make sure that she's got some new offerings. I think she particularly enjoyed the opportunity for the creativity. And, we kind of surprise ourselves what we come up with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The other sponsor is Georgian Hills Vineyards. And again, they've done an amazing job, social distancing, but where their facility is just south of Thornbury in Clarksburg, again, is a beautiful setting. I had a board meeting or gathering there for the Institute of Southern Georgian Bay. We were all sitting on high stools and just having a grand time, enjoying the vista. And the food was sort of in the center. So take your turns going in and having some nice wine. And so they'll be telling you about their business and how they pivoted, which is wonderful.
Beautiful. I think that is so key. A lot of people can look at COVID and see the doom and gloom. And instead, this event is all about how to pivot and thrive and survive and be leaders in this time and lifting ourselves and each other up. So I am really looking forward to it. Anything else you have to add, Nancy?
Well, the second section, because we know a lot of boomers already had a second property outside of the GTA, and it could be wherever. It doesn't necessarily need to be in Southern Georgian Bay. But what often happens is people continue to support those hospitals and institutions from where they live, GTA, Oakville, Markham, Stouffville, wherever. But then when they move into these smaller communities, they're accessing healthcare in those communities. So
Mm.
initially we were having the Meaford Hospital Foundation speak, but as life happens, the CEO has a heart operation, so she's not available. She then was letting one of her board members handle the opportunity. Her father just came out of the hospital. She needed to help him get settled in.
Mm.
So then we went to the municipality of Meaford and the mayor, who is fabulous, and the deputy mayor. So we have a fearless mayor, Barb. We have a fearless deputy mayor, Shirley. And ironically enough, or interestingly enough, Meaford, the municipality of Meaford, has a health and wellness focus. So what
Ooh.
they're going to do is tell you what's going on, not just pertaining to the hospital, but everything that's happening in the community pertaining to every resident's health and wellness focus.
Wow.
So I'm looking, and they're both fearless women leaders. Great, great ladies.
And from what I understand, Meaford hosts a lot of boomer women. Is that the age demographic there?
Yes,
Yeah.
quite a
So,
few. There's a development called Laura Bay,
mhm.
and the Georgian Bay Club as well. Great, great golf courses that are golf course communities, but then also Thornbury. And Meaford has the Meaford Cultural Center, which has a film festival every year called MIF. And they just had it virtually over the Thanksgiving weekend. So there's lots going on in Meaford, and you'll hear more when you hear Barb and Shirley sharing what's going on.
Beautiful. Well, I can't wait. There's going to be so much inspiration and wisdom coming out of this. Honestly, if you're a boomer women, this is really a must attend, and not just for boomers. It's in the next generation, Generation Z, X, um, millennials. It is for everybody. It's time us women step up as leaders, not only for ourselves, for our family, for our community, and for our legacy. So thank you very much, Nancy, for taking the time to explain more about your event. And if you haven't got your ticket, grab it in the link here, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Crystal, I've got a question.
Yes,
If they register and can't attend, which is what I often do, will
yes,
there be a replay?
100%. We will offer the replay, and yep, not a problem. And life happens. And with a replay, then you can watch it over and over again, and you can share it with your family as well. So
Perfect.
maybe I attend, but my mother can't, and then we'll watch it with her.
Right. So the registration link is here, and the cost is $40, I think, plus an Eventbrite fee.
Yes.
So it's a modest amount, and we sure hope you'll join us and participate and learn and share.
So
Thanks,
the link
Crystal.
again is bit.ly, so bit.ly/fearless women leader, but it is clickable in the link there in the comments. So thank you so much, Nancy, for taking the time out today. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Crystal. You too.